Greetings and welcome to the Stoic Gamer podcast. My name's Michael Bolton. In this podcast, I talk to players at all different levels of the hobby about their experience going to competitive events, whether it's their first time or whether they're a seasoned old timer like myself. I discuss the events we're going to, I discuss the events we've been to, and I talk about everything from army building, rules queries, happenings on the table to hotel disasters and culinary and gastronomic accidents, all part of the hobby and all part of visiting different parts of the country and the world as part of our fantastic 40k hobby. If you like this kind of content and you want to hear more, please let me know. If it's on YouTube, please just leave something in the comments. I'll always get back to you if I can. And if you're listening on any other kind of platform such as Spotify, do leave me a message. I can get back. So the balanced data sheet for 2024 has arrived. The first one in January, a little later than expected, but it's here. And we've got to do something about it. It's been one that I've been waiting for. I had this podcast lined up last week, ready to go, thinking, oh, yep, I will just have a look at the balance data sheet, and then I shall deliver some searing clinical comments about the podcast. But actually, it's a good data sheet. There doesn't seem to have been too much done. There's no core rule changes really, but there are some rather nice explanations in the commentary. If you haven't seen those, have a look. This is going to be a short podcast because I need to sit down and have a look at it in a little bit more detail. But as far as I can tell, the commentary explains some of the things that people argue about. For example, there's always been debate about if you redeploy after both armies have redeployed, can you redeploy your infiltrators as infiltrators? Can you redeploy scouts so that they redeploy and then they still get a scout move after you've decided who goes first? And the answer to that both seems to be yes, you can. So that's cleared that up. Another thing that might have more impact is the clarification of what a normal move means. So basically what the commentary is saying is that units disembarking from a transport or arriving from reserves, it looks like they are counted as moving, but it's not a normal move. So anything that is triggered by a normal move, like Phantasm, for example, doesn't work. I still am not clear about Overwatch. I think Overwatch simply says if you move, then you can be Overwatch. But if it says if you make a normal move, then even Overwatch won't work on you. So that would mean that you wouldn't be able to be shot at if you arrive from deep strike or got out of a transport. So there has to be, I need to have a closer look, but I'm sure that people will comment on the YouTube in the comments down below when you hear what I'm talking about. The other interesting thing, and it's only very marginal, it won't happen very often, is the explanation about the allocation of wounds from hazardous weapons. That's quite interesting when you have multiple characters in a unit or a character in a unit of models. It strikes me that if the character has a hazardous weapon in the unit, it looks like you can take one of the models that doesn't have a hazardous weapon off. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what it looks like to me. Those things popped out really quickly on the commentary before I looked at either the updated points cost in the Munitorium Magnificent document, whatever it's called, and before I looked at the faction rules. So then I just scanned through the points costs, and they're quite interesting. As I'm looking at them now, the points costs, I look at Sisters. The Exorcist has gone up to 180 points. Argo Flagellants have gone up, but they're still only 45 points for 3 models, so that's not good. And then a few things have come down. Retributors, Zephyrium, Morven Val's gone up to 145, but overall, bit of internal balance work, nothing spectacular. Custodes have had some stuff go down. Guard, Custodian Wardens, Praetors, will get onto their rules because they've actually had some buffs in the rule sets as well. Mechanicus, more or less the same. No changes for for them. Aldari, no surprises. Night Spinners have gone up to 210 points a model. Wraithguard, 190 points for 5 now. And they have some rules changes, especially relating to Fate Dice, which I will talk about in a moment. But just whipping through all of the factions, a lot of them remain more or less the same, which is great. It's a light touch. I'm quite comfortable with all of that so far. Astra Militarum, the only thing that's happened there is the Manticore model has gone up. Black Templars, Crusader squads have increased in price. Grimaldus and Helbrecht have gone up in price. Blood Angels stay the same. Chaos Demons have sweeping price drops across the board. The only thing that's gone up are Nurglings and Blue Scribes. No surprises there. And the Nurglings now only cost 40 points for 3. So no great shakes there. What else? Chaos Knights. Well, Chaos Knights gone down virtually everywhere. The small knights are staying the same, except for the Brigand, which goes up. Everybody else, all the big knights, have all gone down in price. It still means, I think, that you'll still get the best armies out of 12 war dogs rather than using the big knights. But that's just my view. Chaos Space Marines, they have, well, the only price drop they've had is the Lord of Skulls, who goes down to 450 points. He's always fun, and I've seen people play with 3 of them. But all the other good stuff has gone up. The Dark Commune, Chosen, Warp Talons, Forge Fiend is now 200. The Chaos Lord has gone up to 95. The Obliterators are now 180 for 2 models. And the Curtis Cultists have gone up to 105 points for 8. So overall, they've had quite a lot of their key units increase in price. I'm not certain what that will do to the list, but certainly gone up in price. Dark Angels, few price drops. I think these guys might be a good shout. Lionel Johnson's down to 350 points. Ravenwing Knights, Black Knights, 90 points for 3, 30 points each. Sounds like a bloody bargain to me. Along with their Ravenwing Command Squad has gone down. Dark Shroud models gone down. Landspeeder Vengeance has gone down. Deathwing Terminator squads, now 5 models for 190. They're probably one of the cheapest Terminators you can get. So I think that's a good shout. Death Guards, Neil will be happy or not. They've got some price drops. Death Shroud Terminators, Bloat Drones, Lord of Virulence, Typhus, all gone down in price. But your bog standard Plague Marines, which are really good, have gone up. They're now 180 points for 10, 18 each. And this will really upset Neil. Plague Burst Crawlers have gone up to 180 points each. Death Watch, no changes. Drukhari, lots of price drops. I'm not going to go into that because there's some changes for Drukhari elsewhere. The only price that's gone up is the Void Raven Bomber, but nobody cares about that because nobody uses it. Gene Stealer Cults, no change. Grey Knights, no change except for the Librarian, who's gone up to 110 points each. And I suspect that's because every Grey Knights list takes three Librarians, casting that bloody Void, Warp, whatever it is, all over the place. It's a spell that hurts. So I'm not surprised about that. But other than that, no price changes there. Imperial Knights, much like the Chaos Knights, the big knights have all gone down in price. And The armigers, Helverins, have gone down to 140. So again, I'm still thinking you're likely to see 12 armored Helverins and Warglaves in a Imperial Knight list, although they are a little bit more resilient than the Chaos Knights, so you may well see one or two big ones surrounded by a bunch of small knights. But again, price drops everywhere else. Everywhere else. Leagues of Votan. I'm not certain. They have got some changes to the rules. I'll get onto that in a minute in part 2. But in part 1, they haven't had any units go down in price, although the Thunderkin, the Hearthguard have gone up. So 6 Thunderkin are 170 now, and 10 Hearthguard are 320 points. Now, I know they're good, but that's starting to get pricey. They've also got the Sagittawa model has gone up to 115. Necrons, absolutely no changes. I'm a Necron player, and that will surprise a lot of people who might have thought that monoliths, or certainly some of the Catan shards would have gone up in price. They haven't. They've stayed exactly the same as they were. Orcs. Now, Orcs, I think this is a tough list. I think it's a good faction. They've got quite a lot of price drops, but they've also got a few price rises. The truck goes up to 65 points, which in my view should have been more, should have been 80 points, but 65. Squig Hog Boys have gone up to 250 points for 6, which is quite right in my view, because they are very good. And Knobs have gone up to 220 for 10. Good list. Good list. And only 5 things have changed. Scrap Jet has gone down in price to 80. Nobody takes it. Morkanaut has gone down to 295. I've seen it once on the tabletop. And the custom Booster Blaster is 75 points. Kill Cans, 250 points for 6. Not bad. Space Marines. Right. The things that I don't like have gone up in price. The things that I don't like fighting. Aggressor Squads, 240 points for 6 now. And Inceptor Squads, 260 points for 6. So those units that drop within just outside 3 inches and squirt you with plasma fire, or even worse in my view, those twin linked gauntlets of doom that are basically heavy bolters but better, are 260 points for 6. Similarly, Devastator Squads, Centurion Devastator Squads are now 370 points for 6 models. On the other side, Intercessors have come down in price. So both the Intercessor Squad and the Assault Intercessor Squad have come down. So they're both, what are they now? They are Heavy Intercessors, 200 points for 10, 20 points each. Intercessor Assault Squads, Assault Intercessors, are 170 for 10. I think 17 points per model for assault troops, jump packs, all the rest of it ain't too shabby at all. I think that's a good price. The other thing that's come down for them is their Outrider Squads. Nice little units here, 80 points for 3 models Outriders. I think that's a really nice unit for mission play. Everything else stays the same. Well, no, Dreadnoughts have gone up in price and Whirlwinds have gone up in price. And I think that Games Workshop have put up the price of most of the indirect stuff that makes a difference. Astra Militarum, the can't remember what it's called now. I'm not looking back on the list, but one of theirs has. It'll come back to me. Scout Squads have gone up. That's about it. Space Wolves, no change. Tau Empire, Vespids have gone down to 65. Crisis Commander in a Crisis Battlesuit down to 80. And a Commander in an Enforcer Battlesuit down to 90. Riptide down to 165. Looking good so far. Crisis Battlesuits, however, gone up. 3 for 200 now. Not surprising. Thousand Suns, no change. Tyranids, Well, there's a whole raft of stuff here. I haven't got time to go through it all. Pyrovores go up, Death Leapers go up, Gargoyles go up. I don't know why Gargoyles go up. Everybody tells me they're good. Every time I play I play Alex, I shoot them and they die. So I'm not entirely sure about that. On the other hand, he's got some things going down in price. The Norn models, both of them drop in price. The Tyrannifex goes down to 190. It doesn't do much, but my goodness, that's a lot of wounds to tank for 190 points. Pyrovores go up. Screamer Killer comes down to 145. That's getting to the point where it's almost a bargain. Then we get on to World Eaters. Typically, Master of Executions has gone up. Good. Khan the Betrayer's gone up. 8-bound have gone up to 160 points for 3. And 8-bound Exalted have gone up to 160 for 3, and 8-bound have gone up to 145. Everything else stays the same except for the World Eaters Forge Fiend, which drops to 145. Right, that's a quick run through of the points costs. Chaos Space Marines got a bit of a nerf. A lot of their stuff went up in price, including the key stuff like Forge Fiends and things. But let's have a quick look now at the changes to the faction rules and see if that, combined with the prices, makes a difference. So now, after looking at a quick run through the points costs and a quick overview at the beginning about the commentary, I thought I'd just run through real quick the faction rules to see what's happened. And then at the end, I'll give you my view of what I think might happen to the meta. And I could be entirely wrong. So, Sisters, not really much here now that we talked about the points earlier on, but they've kind of nerfed the St. Catherine's simulacrum of the Eben Chalice. So she can only do her thing twice. So basically that means she's only going to let you get 1 or 2 melter shots through rather than keep doing it until the world ends. So, it's 120 odd points to have the triumph around. I'm not sure it's going to make a big difference. If you were going to take it before, you're going to take it now. Custodes, this is great. The Aegis of the Emperor now gives you the 4-up, feel no pain against devastating wounds, which you had got rid of previously. So 4-up, feel no pain against devastating wounds. This is big. I think Custodes will be enjoying that. All those devastating wounds with thunder hammers and ectoplasm cannons. We're going to take our 4-up, feel no pains against it. It's big. It's important. That'll make a difference. I think Custodes will come bounding back. Alderi. Now, here they are, the Boogeyman. The Bogeyman. Big news. Big news. You only roll 6 fate dice at the start of the game. Only 6. That is big. If you know how fate dice work, you basically roll 6 dice and then you can use those dice throughout the game to replace a dice for a critical roll. So if you need to make that 12-inch charge and you roll 1-6, you can replace the other one with a 6 from your fate dice and you charge 12. Such a powerful thing. You can get 9 if you have Eldrad Ulthran for his extra 3 fate dice, but normally it's just 9, and you may not want to take Eldrad because he's a bit of a tax just to get you 3 extra dice. Nevertheless, fate dice are still very powerful, something that no one else can interact with, and it gives you the chance to do what you want to do when you want to do it. Now, I don't understand this one. Fate's Messenger. What's this say? It says, primarily hits a Spirit Seer. He previously joined a unit of Wraithguard and used the enhancement's ability to turn a single hit wound or save roll to a 6 to force through devastating wounds on the unit's D size and auto pass saves. Without the ability to use the auto 6 on Wraithguard, this enhancement is more likely to end up on Death Jesters who are already using it in competitive play. So says Goonhammer. Don't understand what that means, but it's a bit of a nerf. Phantasm Stratagem, I know what this does. This is hideous. But now Previously, if you moved at the end of your movement phase, they could, if you'd moved within, I think it was 9 or 12 inches of a infantry Eldar infantry unit, the Eldari player could then move 7 inches. Can't anymore. What you do now is you move a random distance, D6 I think it is, I'll have to look it up, but that makes a huge difference. You're not going to get to where you want to be most of the time. Night spinners, their monofilament web used to stop you advancing at all. Now it just gives -2. That is great against Transcendent Catans because it used to stop them moving at all. Now they can still move. The typical old-fashioned combination of Incarn and Night Spinner, where the Night Spinner kills something and then the Incarn arrives, can still work, but it won't be the surprise it was because you can't teleport away because you killed another enemy unit. Once it teleports, it's stuck where it is until the next turn. So you can't teleport in, charge something, kill something, and move again. It's just not going to happen. So that's great. And then finally, Wraithguard used to be able to shoot back once they were shot at. They can still do it, but now they have to shoot the unit that was shooting at them. Previously, they could take pot shots at anything on the table, and that was quite powerful too. So Eldari taking a bit of a kick in the teeth, I think, there. Having said that, their third team is usually as good as anybody else's first team. So by the time they've rummaged through their laminated book of dreams, they'll probably find some data slates that are just as good, and they'll still be a competitive list. Astra Militarum. Big thing here, I think. Well, the only real change is that the voice of command, so this is about orders, allows officer models to issue their orders at the end of the phase in which they disembark from a transport or were set up on the battlefield. Previously, units disembarking from transports or arriving by deep strike or reserve or whatever would have to wait a turn to get their orders. Now they can get them straight away. That is really, really important. So now you can get out of a transport, be given a move order and rattle across the table, or fix bayonets after disembarking, or improve your shooting after disembarking. It's really good buff, especially to Scions. Blood Angels. Really easy buff here. The buff is they get +2 strength and +1 attacks when they charge. Nice. Simple, nice. Chaos Demons. I don't know whether it's a nerf or it's probably a nerf. Basically, their allies rule now prevents them from taking more non-battle line demons than battle line units for each god. So there's a tax that you need to pay if you want to take non-battle line stuff. Okay. Okay. Mind you, they did get lots of points drops, if you remember. Chaos Space Marines. There's a few here, and they need to be nerfed because they were right in the top. If you're riding in a transport and you have a keyword, a mark of any particular god, the transport has to have the same one. So this stops you riding along in a Nurgle Rhino that you can make unshootable for more than 12 inches with a unit of Undivided. Can't do that anymore. Not only that, but the Dark Obscuration, which was the you can't shoot me, is now extended to 18 inches. Still a nerf, still good, but it's a nerf. Profane Zeal, which you used to give to your lord, that allowed him to reroll all his hits and all his wounds, now only rerolls wounds. That's okay, because frankly, it was only the wounds that you were bothered about anyway, because he was hitting on 2s. And Accursed Cultists are now only OC1. More importantly, they used to heal in everybody's command phase and bring models back. Now they only do it in their own. So, not as good. Death Guard. Apparently, and I didn't know this, the only thing here I can see is a nerf to the Biologus Putrefier. apparently they can throw grenades and they get to do it as often as they liked. So people were taking 3 of those and just lobbing grenades all over the place. Can't do it anymore. Can't do it anymore. You can still throw the grenades, but you're limited to only one unit doing it each turn. Right, Drukhari. Spending a pain token in the fight phase improves your AP by 1 on melee attacks. That is really good. You collect your pain tokens almost free anyway. So now you're going to be AP1 on everything, and everything is going to be increased by AP1. I like it. And more importantly, and this is so obvious, you can now put an Archon with an Enkabai unit. Why the hell couldn't you do it in the first place? Bloody ridiculous, Games Workshop. Should have been there all along, but thank you for doing it. So, moving along to Grey Knights. Better weapon stats for the Dread Knights. Now, Dread Knights seem to me to have fallen out of favour with Grey Knights, and the Grey Knights armies lists you saw were just lots of guys with bolters and Nemesis Force weapons bouncing around the tabletop, surprising you and doing not a great deal of damage if you've got any decent save. Now, the Dread Knights all have better weapons. All of the side cannons are AP -2 and ignores cover. Really nice. And great hammers and great swords, weapon skill is improved by 1. So they're hitting on 2s, which they should be. All of a sudden, they start to look a little bit scarier. Right, Imperial Knights. Boom, boom, boom. As I said, I think you'll still see Imperial Knights with the odd big one, as opposed to Chaos Knights, which I think will all be small little knights running about. So Lalo the Tyrant now lets you re-roll 1 hit roll and 1 wound roll instead of re-roll rolls of 1. Massive. That's massive. Re-roll a hit roll and a wound roll instead of re-roll 1s. That's really good. That is really good. It's I can't tell you. Space Wolves. Sagas are now chosen at the end of each turn, not the end of the battle round. So you get 2. 1 for your turn and 1 for their turn. Yes, please. Space Wolves. Pick one. You can have a defensive one in your enemy's turn. You can have an offensive one when it's your turn. Go for it. Love it. World Eaters. Good. It's a nerf to the chuffing Berserker Glaive. The Berserker Glaive now only gives +1 attack and damage, not plus D3 on the charge. One of these guys, the Berserker with a Berserker Glaive, the Massive Executioners with a Berserker Glaive, killed the Silent King in 1 attack. Stupid. Not happy with that. I'm happy with this change. Also, he's gone up to 100 points, which is good. The Favoured of Corn enhancement only works once per battle. It's a must-have in World Eaters lists, to be honest. You got to take it. And Demon Princes now only give you a 5-up invulnerable save, or a 4-up if you already had an invulnerable save. Demon Princes weren't great anyway, and I think that really puts the nail in their coffin. I don't think you're going to see any Demon Princes in a World Eater lists from now on. Anyway, that's what I think. So, dear listener, crikey, I'm not sure I know what's going to happen, to be absolutely honest with you. In this little section, I'm going to tell you what I think, and then I'm going to give Games Workshop some suggestions, because I can. It's through the anonymity of the internet, I can do anything I like. So, what do I think? I was looking at Games Workshop's meta report, and I'm looking at their faction win rates, and this is what they base their amendments on to a greater or larger extent, and they're aiming to get everybody between the 55% and 45% win rates, and frankly they've done a bloody good job so far. Blood Angels so far, according to their data, are 45%, and right at the top Aldari and Necrons are 56%, so nearly everybody's in there. I heard Josh Roberts on the Meta Watch talking about internal balance. So I think they're getting to the point where they're reasonably comfortable with the external balance. So if you take a army, it's going to win 45 to 55% of the time. What they were then talking about is, well, but what we don't want is all the armies to be cookie cutter copies of the same list, because there's only one option within each codex. So then they're starting to talk about internal balance. And that's a tricky task, because it's going to be hard to make factions with multiple options that don't start to creep up and get better and better, or indeed get worse and worse. So I wish them well with that. But what I can see so far is Eldari, they have got some serious nerfs. They've had 3 sets of nerfs, as far as I can tell, in this edition. And I still think they're going to be good. There are options that nobody's explored in that codex, and I think you'll find they're still going to be somewhere around the top. I think Necrons are going to be fine. They haven't been touched. I think people are going to have to work out how to beat them. And there are things happening now. And I knew this, but people are just starting to realize. And it's clear in the commentary that you're now able, with the units with the ability to ignore changes to their characteristics, also don't halve their damage against Catans. So all of a sudden, there are a lot of models out there, including the Silent King, funnily enough, that can ignore that and probably kill Catans reasonably easily. So thank you, Games Workshop, for not knee-jerking and nerfing Catans when I think the community is going to do that for you. Leagues of Votann prices went up, but they still have judgment tokens. They have 54% win rate. They have judgment tokens that you just put on 4 units at the beginning of a game. I thought they might change that, but they haven't. Chaos Space Marines, still 54% win rate. They are going to, I think their win rate will go down, not necessarily because they're not still a good list, but I think a lot of the players that jumped onto Chaos Space Marines will jump onto something else, because I think there's going to be armies that are easier to play than them. Space Wolves are up at 52%. No changes there. Carry on. Chaos Knights, Orcs, Sisters, Thousand Sons, all in the 52 to 51% rate. Don't think there'll be much change there. At the bottom, Drukhari have got some really good buffs. I think that they're going to do a little bit better. Astra Militarum at 45% too. I'm not sure. I think that giving orders once you got out of a transport can make a difference. It makes them a lot quicker. That could be good. And I think Tyranids are going to improve. Overall, what I say all the time is it doesn't matter what list, it's the good players that are going to be at the top. And I think the good players are going to stick with the armies that take some finesse. So they're going to be using Votann, Chaos Space Marines, Eldari, maybe Sisters. Thousand Sons, not sure about. They've not been in a good place recently. They can't kick out enough damage. So, and the prices have gone up. So not sure. So not much help there. What do I think? Now, I watched the Meta Watch. Josh Roberts, who has been employed by Games Workshop to be the balance czar. Friend of the channel. I've known Josh for 15 years on and off. Couldn't have got a better person for the job. The man's got a terrific history of winning GTs and super majors. Captain of Team England. Also, he's got a brain like a computer and is usually unswayed by emotion. It's exactly what they need. And I admire his efforts to put things right. He did a great job on the Meta Watch, where his delivery got the points across well. And I thought came across professionally, but in a way that you could understand. What don't I like about it? Do you know what I don't like? And this is just an age thing. In the points lists, they make them red when they're grey normally. They make them red when they go up. They make them green when they go down. I don't know. Is it just me, or is that grey and that green so close that I can't tell whether prices have gone up or down, because I'm a bit colourblind and I'm a bloke and I'm of a certain age and my eyesight's not great? If if I was writing this for an accessible audience, I would make those colours a little bit different so that people can tell what's going up and going down. It's a niggle. It doesn't matter. Just thought you'd be interested, Games Workshop, if you're listening. Okay, I'm exhausted. I need to get this up online and posted. So if you've enjoyed listening to any of this, if you want to hear me ramble on about other things, let me know. I'm going to be visiting Battlefield Birmingham on Saturday with a list that I thought was pretty good, and got beaten twice by crappy Tyranids driven by Alex, who doesn't know what the hell he's doing with Tyranids. So doesn't augur well for a good start, but who knows? I will look forward to any comments that you put on there, and I will answer them. So please do. In the meantime, see you on the ice.